Okay, well this video is going to be involving Project 4, the Rick Hammer Carpenter Desk Program. And it's more or less just a hint. It's kind of help you get started. Since it's a project, I obviously can't do it for you, but I can kind of get you started. So if you turn your text to page 106, and you can pause the video if you need to, and I've just got a text document sort of open here in Visio, just to kind of get our logic laid out. However, the book has actually got it all laid out for you, but I'm going to kind of go through it in the form of input, processing, and output. And what I have here, these two forward slashes sort of indicate comments to sort of break up the sections that we're doing, which you're familiar with. It says here, exercise 7, Rick Hammer is a carpenter who wants an application to compute the price of a desk. Okay, so we know that's what we're going to be doing. That a customer orders based on the following: desk length and width in inches, type of wood, and number of drawers. Okay, well, that tells you right there that if you're getting this from the customer, you've got to have somewhere to put it. So these are going to be numeric variables, so we might as well go ahead and lay those out. Numeric, and we'll just call the first one length, initialize it with 0, numeric width, set that equal to 0. Now, the question becomes about the wood type. If you look further along, you'll see there are 3 wood types: mahogany, oak, and pine. You can do this a couple different ways. The simplest way is to use a number to represent each type of wood. That way you don't have to worry about mix and match casing, letter casing as the user types it in, which can be problematic at this point in our endeavor. So I'm going to use 1 for mahogany, 2 for oak, and 3 for pine. And obviously in the prompts you'll have to tell the user that, and they'll have to understand that you type 1 for mahogany, 2 for oak, and 3 for pine. Okay, so we need wood type, which I'm going to use as numeric, or you could just call it wood if you wish. Set it to 0. And then finally num drawers, the number of drawers that the user wants. Set that equals 0. All right. So now we have an input. We have to get the input from the user, and it's going to be length and width. Whoops. All this is coming from the user, the customer, right? Wood and num drawers. So we're going to get all that from the user, and then that sort of finishes up our input. So we got that. Now we may need some additional variables here. I think we're probably going to need one for price, and I'm just going to use mine as price. You can call it total price if you want. You can call it that, total price. Now if you look down a little further, you'll see that the minimum charge for all desks is $200. Well, if they don't order any special wood and their surface area of the top is less than 750 square inches according to these bullets down below, then the base charge is going to be $200. So I'm going to just put 200 in here, because it's always going to be at least that, if not more. Okay. And again, we may have to go back up here and add some stuff, but we'll just see as we go along. Okay. It looks like, according to these bullets, and they've actually got the logic laid out for you, I got a couple of if statements and then a calculation. Says if the surface length times width is over 750 square inches. Well, that's an if statement, isn't it? If length times width is what? Greater than or equal to? No, it says is over 750. So it has to be greater than 750, doesn't it? Then what? We do something. Now, is this a dual alternative or a single alternative if? Well, let's take a look at the text. It says if the surface length times width is over 750, we add $50 to the total. Well, here's the situation. If it's not over that, then you don't add anything. So there is no else. It's just a single alternative if. Okay, end if. All right. Now, What's the next if? If the wood is mahogany, and I said I was going to use the number 1 for mahogany. So if, and we got all this from the user already, right? Wood, whoops, my fault, sorry. Wood equals 1. That means they've selected mahogany, right? Then they've selected mahogany. I'll put this over here, these comments over here so you can see. Comments obviously are just for our benefit, and the compiler wouldn't look at this if you were typing this in. Now, Visual Logic doesn't have, as far as I know, a commenting character, so you won't be able to put these in there, but other languages do. Visual Basic uses a single quote. C#, C++, Java, they all use 2 forward slashes for that. I'm going to say mahogany. So let's see. That's mahogany. Okay. Well, what if it's not mahogany? Well, what do we have to test for? Well, there are 3 possibilities. There's mahogany, oak, and pine. Now, notice that pine does not carry an additional charge. So if they select pine, there's nothing to do. So really all we need to test for, now we're making some serious assumptions here that they're giving us 1, 2, or 3. We're not into data validation yet, so don't worry about if they give you a 7.5 or a 9. We're just making the assumption here that for learning purposes they're giving us a 1, 2, or 3. All right, well if it's not a 1, if it's not mahogany, then the only other thing we need to look at as far as what carries an additional charge is oak. So that's going to be an else. This is going to be a nested if on the false side. Remember we talked about those? This would be an or, wouldn't it? And actually, you can do it like this. Then it's oak, right? And if if it's not either one of those, then it's going to be a pine, correct? And so there's nothing to do if it's pine. We can just ignore the fact that it's pine. Now, you're going to have to come in here and do some things. You're going to have to add 50 right here. Now, this is a comment. This is not code, so don't go putting this in there because that ain't going to work. I'm putting this in here for your benefit. Here you would add what? 150. And you don't put the $sign in here. This is strictly for your benefit. Add 150 to total price. And there's a way you have to do that, which we talked about in class. All right. Here you would add 125, I think it is, if it's oak. Otherwise, if it's pine, you don't do anything. So we're going to ignore that. All right, so there's our first if and our second nested if. Now that takes care of the size and the wood type. The only thing left as far as processing goes, I mean, mathematical processing, is what? The number of drawers. There are no if statements associated with this. All right. The way you do that, let's see, one way to do it is to multiply 30 times the number of drawers. Well, what if the number of drawers is 0? Well, big deal. 30 times 0 is 0. If you just first multiply 30 times the number of drawers they've given you and then add that into your total, then you're fine. So you might be adding 0 back to your total. It doesn't really matter. $30 times, what do we call that? Num drawers to total price. All right. Okay, so that takes care of that. And let's see, we have output next. All right, what did we say we were going to output? We were going to output something like an invoice. So we might do something like custom desk invoice. All right, and these are just, this is just, I'm not showing you how to do the output here. And then you would have length. Well, let's put something. I mean, I'm going to show you a little bit, but you can figure out the rest of it. We went over in class. All right, and then we're going to do we have to spew back what they gave us. And you can do it like this if you want. Length is going to be in the length variable, and then width is in the width variable. Right. You can do wood, and here's what you can do for wood. You can go 1 equals mahogany, oops, 2 equals oak, and 3 equals pine, and then just give them, you know, what they gave you, which was 1, 2, or 3, and I think the name of the variable is wood, so we would do this, wood. Now, you might want to put a little space in here, and I forgot a quote. Like I did, I put a space here and space here, so you probably want one there as well. There we go. And then we want to output number of drawers. And what do we call that? Num drawers? Yeah. I can't remember what I call it from one minute to the next. Okay, and I'm running out of room on my paper. So what I'm going to do on my sheet here is I'm going to reduce the font a little bit down to 12. And that gives more room. Okay. All right, so that gives me everything that they gave me. So now I want to put another little line here. Something about, well, let's just make it the same. It doesn't matter. Be so on the safe side. We're not going to know how long it is. And then you can do total. Oh, we forgot to put base price in there, didn't we? Let's put base price in there. Base price. See how you kind of do this stuff as you go along. And that's $200. Now, so I can just, that's hard coded, so that's no problem, because as far as we know, it's not going to change. It could. If it did, we would want to use a constant. So, if you wanted to get fancy, you'd come in here and put the charges in, but I don't care about that. And we're going to put, what do we call that? Total price. And you can use the format currency function I told you about. It's available. That'll give you a $sign and 2 decimal places and round it. Yeah, there you go. Now, I think I've given you some pretty good hints here. I think I've given you a lot of good hints. Actually, I've just about written the program for you. You should have no trouble whatsoever with this. And there it is. I'm going to leave it up here just to, let me zoom out, and you can always pause the program and or the video and take a look at it as you desire. All right, well, good luck, and I'll see you in class.